Well, hello there, and I do hope you're all well. Now, back to a bit of humour, because I know yesterday's videos were quite tough. They were tough for me because as somebody who's on universal credit due to emergency spinal surgery, and my body's pretty much broken up, and I certainly can't do the work I used to do. But anyway, I do hope you enjoyed the videos, but back to a bit of light-hearted humour, and back to the irreplaceable Nick Abbott, where on Friday night he decides to go through the latest scandal that seems to be hitting the 10 Downing Street. Yes, that absolute bumbling cockwomble. He just seems to bound from one scandal to the next. Last week he was going over the Sue Gray, and all that stuff. And just thinking, might be seeing a bit light at end of tunnel. Up pops William Ragg to accuse the government of going down the route of blackmailing. And the way how irreplaceable Nick Abbott does it, in the only way he knows how to, is quite a joy to behold. So enjoy.
Right, how's everything going, Bodge? Yes. Have you ever seen anything like it in your life? Like rats in a sack, backbenchers are pushing for the Prime Minister. What's prime about him? The Prime Minister to be replaced amid Partygate and all of the rest of the catastrophic clown show that he is responsible for. Ministers are claiming that they have taped party enforcers attempting to bully MPs. And now the rebel Tories are threatening to release a secret recording of the government whip's blackmail threats. The Rebel Alliance. Senior Conservative William Ragg said that Bodger's critics were facing intimidation as part of an effort to prevent him from being ousted from office. You believe that? Defector to Labour, Christian Wakeford, said that he was told funding for a new school in his Bury South constituency would be withheld if he did not back the government in axing free meals for pupils. What? You've got to be kidding me. I'll say that again in case it went too fast. Christian Wakeford, out of the Tory party, said that he was told that funding for a new school in his Bury South constituency would be withheld if he did not back the government in axing free meals for pupils. Wow, that's how far we've fallen. I mean, Margaret Thatcher only snatched kids' milk. This regime's taken their whole meal. They left the sago pudding because, nobody likes that. It seems a cruel and unusual punishment to give kids sago pudding. I mean, what even is it? Looks like a giant bowl of, and I'm sorry to have to say this, but this is factually accurate, looks like a giant bowl of snot. The Times reported that Tory MPs keen to see the back of Boris Johnson have secretly recorded heated conversations with the Chief Whip Mark Spencer, as well as text messages to support the accusations. Boris Johnson insisted on Thursday he had seen no evidence to support these claims. Is that because you haven't looked for any evidence, Bodge? Yes. Is it because when evidence to support those claims came his way, he quickly averted his gaze to look at something else? His solid gold wallpaper, for instance.
I can't comment on that.
Business Secretary Kwesi Kwarteng insisted that he did not think this was happening, saying that blackmail threats, as alleged, would be unacceptable. He said the whip's job is to persuade people to vote with the government, as they have done for decades, and they try to do that by a variety of means. But he said the idea that they'll say to an MP, well, if you don't vote with the government, then your school or your hospital won't get the requisite funds, I think that's appalling, he said. There's so many of these ministers coming out to say, well, I've never heard of anything like that in all my days. And like, people who used to be in government. I've heard so many of them say, well, it couldn't possibly happen like that. It certainly didn't happen like that in my day. Goodness me, no. Yeah, well, ain't your day no more, is it? I mean, the whips usually keep MPs on message and as supplicants by making notes of all their drunken, lecherous behaviours and threaten to release it to the sun if they step out of line by actually thinking for themselves, which is what we elected them to do, remember? Not just be a nodding dog. I mean, what's the point of an MP if all they do is vote with whatever the dear leader says? I mean, that's not a parliamentary democracy. That's a blooming dictatorship. I mean, it seems like a whole nother level of nasty, by the way, to actually threaten children in their area if MPs don't do as they're told. I mean, that is mafia-level stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, it would be a shame if something happened to that school. Business Secretary Kwesi Kwarteng said they are serious allegations. They need to be investigated, and I think there should be consequences if people have been found to behave in that way. They need to be investigated. He obviously didn't get the memo because Boris Johnson's saying that there's no need to investigate. Read your emails, Kwesi. There needs to be an investigation. Yeah, let's have an investigation so they can all say that they can't speak about the matter because it's under investigation. Or, as a science experiment, let's put it to the people. Hands up who thinks the Boris Johnson regime would not blackmail their own MPs by threatening the future of children in their area if they don't vote with the government. OK, now hands up who thinks they absolutely would do that. It's them up and down. Overwhelming. But Bodge says he hasn't seen any evidence of that, so it must not have happened. I mean, he's so sharp, he doesn't even recognise a party when he's got a glass of champagne in one hand, a balloon in the other, and a paper hat on, while doing strip charades.
Disgusting.
His Imperial Bodgeness has been battling claims that Tory critics are facing intimidation which could amount to blackmail as part of a desperate attempt to keep him in post. I mean, my eyeballs have been, I've been rolling them as I'm seasick from rolling my eyeballs so much. Minister after minister saying, well, nobody would ever do that to me. They wouldn't threaten me. In the previous government that I was a member of, certainly not. No, so because it didn't happen then, it can't happen now. Right, because, that's how life works. Conservative MP William Bragg said that he had received reports of conduct, including, but not limited to, members of staff at 10 Downing Street, special advisers, government ministers and others encouraging the publication of stories in the press, seeking to embarrass those who they suspect of lacking confidence in the Prime Minister. Is this real life or am I hallucinating? Have I woken up in North Korea? I mean, can you imagine if those same papers printed stories that they have to embarrass Boris Johnson? I mean, I bet they've got files as thick as Gavin Williamson. They'd have to clear some space on the internet just to publish them all. Conservative MP William Bragg said the intimidation of a Member of Parliament is a serious matter, reports of which I am aware would seem to constitute blackmail. And he ain't no one, William Bragg, even though you might not have heard of him. He is the actual chairman of the Commons Public Administration and Constitutional Affairs Committee. Don't ask me, I've got no idea. But he's also the vice chairman of the 1922 Committee. So called because you've got to have the attitudes of someone born on or before that date to get in. He said it would be my general advice to colleagues to report these matters to the Speaker of the House of Commons and the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. The Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police. What would be the point of that? I mean, when it comes to the regime, the Met Police don't look into allegations of crimes that have happened in the past. Or ever. MPs might as well put their allegations on a piece of paper and throw it into the street for all the good it would do. And, where was Bodger? Well, he was unavoidably detained out of town. I'll get to that in a minute.
I was just laughing my way through, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. When I first heard this had come out, my first thoughts were, can you imagine if this had happened in a developing country, somewhere at the other side of the world or whatever? You can imagine our bodge in Parliament with a straight face would be demanding that the government resign, or be people oust them, or however, or impose sanctions on that country. And he'll have said that with a straight face, without a hint of irony. But here we are. Here we have a government that, in a desperate attempt to save the bodge, they're quite happy to blackmail people. No, when he talked about that Christian Wakeford situation where they said, that school you were wanting, be ashamed to lose it if you don't vote how we want, if we don't vote to make sure starving children don't get meals. The irony, you just, wow. It's just blows my mind. Can you imagine if that had happened in another part of the world? They'd be in absolute uproar, saying, this is not how democracy works, and stuff like that. We have jumped the shark, haven't we, as a country? But anyway, I do hope you enjoyed the video. I know I did, because I needed the cheering up after yesterday, because bawling my eyes out on some of them calls. But anyway, I shall leave the video here. Until the next time, I shall bid you farewell and take care.